Education from 2019. Quick logline on the movie. The beloved superintendent of New York's Roslyn School District and his staff, friends, and relatives become the prime suspects in the unfolding of the single largest public school embezzlement scandal in American history. Directed by Corey Finley, starring Hugh Jackman, of course, Ray Romano, Allison Janney. So I think this movie came, yeah, it's the year before the pandemic. I remember watching this on HBO. I think it might have even opened in theaters if things were handled differently, but it was
Mm.
released as like an HBO movie. And when I watched it for the first time, I was like, why is this an HBO movie? Like, this is kind of incredible and interesting. And I love this sort of a procedural, spotlight style, obviously very different subject matters, but an investigative kind of movie, but also some interesting character development and characters in the middle of it. And the thing that I kept thinking about was Hugh Jackman. Like, and the reason I call this a masterpiece for him is that I think this is the movie where he's probably the most let loose yet most grounded.
Mm.
And like I was saying in the beginning of our podcast, like for me, he's charm central. And it's so interesting to me that when you are this sort of a charming person, what if that charm was twisted and you had some dark, ugly secrets that you were hiding and you were using the charm to cover it all up? And in that sense, I think it's brilliant casting, but also pretty daring and brave of him, I think, to take a part like this. And you feel for this person because clearly something is really off, because this person thinks that they're doing the right thing. Meanwhile, they are hoodwinking everybody around them, not just money, but also people who are in their lives, even people who love them, actually. He's using everybody, and it's almost like at the end of the movie you sort of feel sad for him, but I think to me this is a masterpiece as a performance from him, because I think it's once again total commitment. The movie revolves around him, and it's so important that you're with him, because otherwise you the stakes wouldn't matter, even though stakes are very high, but he's the central piece of it all. And I think it's by design that as an audience you have to feel some level of sympathy or understanding or something. And I think Hugh can do that because we've seen him do this, but also he has sort of this innate goodness inside of him, I think, and that you get glimmers of that even in this character who's actually pretty bad and is doing horrible things. So that's why I just think this is such a masterpiece performance. I will say, as a movie, like rewatching it again, I hadn't seen it since the first time I saw it. I was like, oh, I get it why this is a TV movie. I think I wish this movie in a different director's hand with maybe a different cinematographer. It has the potential and the subject matter and the performances to be a cinematic movie like a Spotlight or All the President's Men or all these movies that are so revered are and kind of are in the pantheon. This movie could have gotten there, but I think the writing and the direction just doesn't fully get there. That said, I still find it quite, I know it's weird to use the word enjoyable for a movie like this, but I find it kind of enjoyable to see because it's just so interesting and how it all happens. And at the center of it is Hugh Jackman's performance. Had you watched this movie before?
No, I'd never seen it. I remembered seeing like posters, billboards for it in LA when it was coming to HBO. But I'm definitely glad I did. I really enjoyed the film. And a lot of it is due to Hugh. And I think what you were talking about in terms of what this character brings, which is sort of like a mixed, well, you think initially it's mixed morality. First, you think he's innocent because the
Yeah.
embezzlement only is his coworker. And then he's sort of doing the right thing and getting her fired. And you're like, okay, well, maybe he's doing some weird stuff and protecting her in some way, but like, okay, like I'm still with you. I'm with Hugh Jackman. And then it's revealed that, yeah, he is a villain. He's basically a sociopath for sure.
Oh,
Like he
yeah.
has a mental disorder where he thinks he is the most important thing in the world. And but he's denying that. Like that's what sociopaths do. And as you that slowly gets revealed as the movie goes along, I think that's to his credit as an actor to be able to pull off that slow switch, but yet you still, I mean, he's a bad guy. And this is a real person too. Like he did a
Yeah.
lot of horrible things in terms of stealing all this money from the school and school system and ruining a lot of different people's lives. You still have some kind of sympathy for him. I think
Hmm.
that's again what Hugh is bringing to this performance. He's able to do that, which is similar in a way to like Wolverine also being a character, which is a bit of like mixed morality. Like he's not always the good guy. He's sometimes an anti-hero. So I think this is sort of part of Jackman's persona a little bit, which is also why I think it works so well. But I was really impressed with the story, though I agree with you, the script could have been a lot better. They did some interesting choices, which, maybe we can talk about when we get more into the film. But Jackman, especially, I'm like, wow, like this is really just an incredible performance from him that I think deserved to be in a theatrical release. Just some other decisions they made, especially with the way that they told the story, in my view, just held it back and made it more of
Yeah.
a TV movie in scope. But I really did enjoy it. Fascinating story too, just what
Yeah.
this
What
guy
a great
was
story.
doing. Horrible. How much money
Oh,
he was able to take from the school system is crazy that he did this.
yeah. Pretty unbelievable. But yeah, I think there is that thing of kind of the anti-hero, but I think to me, what really takes it to that masterpiece level is that it has those innate, charming, magnetic qualities of Hugh Jackman as an
Hmm.
actor, but also what I associate him with. And you see that like parents and children and colleagues and everybody, they are enamored by him. And that's the subtlety of the performance is that there's something off though. And I remember feeling that even when the first time I saw it, of course, now I know, so you kind of know it, but there's something off. Even when he's trying to protect Alice and Janney, there is, you can feel like the sweat at the back of the neck of
Hmm.
Hughes, that, oh, they're going to come for me too. But that's what sociopaths do. They deny it to themselves. And in fact, you see him rising as a hero to protect everybody, which also
Right.
is a cover up for their
Hmm.
own stuff, right? So it's just very layered in that sense. But again, a performance like this, I think, could be played really over the top and hokey, but it feels quite restrained. And like I said, Hugh lovingly can be very over the top.
Hmm.
And I think kudos to him, and I guess to the director as well, for like holding that back, because this could, and that would not work if this was sort of dialed up. It's
Agreed.
sort of in that right register, which is amazing. And then his look and all his, which are, maybe that's a good thing of the script. I don't know how real it is, but like all his diet things and his beauty
Skincare.
regimens and
Right.
all of that. Like there's a lot of great detail in that sense, which kind of add to the full picture of a sociopath, but also just a human, you know? So it was fun to revisit him, and for an actor who we primarily see as Wolverine to kind of play an ugly, really bad character, but also somehow make it sympathetic in a very stripped down movie. Like this movie is mostly in offices and school
Hmm.
buildings. You don't really go out much. It's pretty bare bones. And I don't think he has done much of that sort of stuff in
Right.
his career.
Right. He really has to shine. The acting
Yeah.
has to shine because the rest of it, not because they chose to do that because
Yeah.
the story needs to be about the actors and not about these big set pieces or elaborate, camera movements or editing techniques. But yeah, I think he's perfectly cast as a sociopath because, like you said, he can pull off the charm, but also then deliver the acting chops and pathos that's necessary to show how evil of a guy this is and why he's able to get away with it because he's able to charm everybody, but he thinks he's the hero too. He thinks he's doing the
Mm-hmm.
right thing because that's what sociopaths are. The interesting thing about the movie that I thought was maybe again a decision that I'm still not really sure what a better movie of this could have been. However, there is also parallel thread that in a way was more fascinating about a high school journalist who
Yeah.
essentially broke this story. And
Yeah.
that I was like, there's no way this is real. And then I Googled it and it is real. Like this was a real person who did do this investigation into the this school board that was embezzling this money. And that story is there, but then sometimes isn't really the focus. And this movie is essentially about the Hugh Jackman character, with
Right.
the side character being the teen journalist. But I was wondering, like, if they either made the teen journalist the focus, it would have been maybe a more interesting movie, or made it more of a two-hander where she's getting just as much of an examination and screen time and that investigation like a spotlight or all the president's like a journalist movie, which sometimes it goes into that, but it's basically more about a character study of this sociopath. And I just wonder if they would have balanced that a little better, it would have elevated this movie to just a more of a deserving of a theatrical release versus a video, a home box office HBO release. That I think that was what I don't know. How did you think that they handled the journalist portion of it? Did you want more of it? Did you feel like it was enough? I'm just curious because that was
Yeah.
what I was thinking when I left the.
I think I
of the
was
movie.
fine with it because we've seen that before. I think this was interesting to kind of see it from a Hughes kind of angle, but also just be part of this kind of school administration piece.
Hmm.
It's not a world that I'm super familiar with. Obviously, we've all been to school in some form or the other, so you've got to kind of see it tangentially. But I thought that world building, if anything, that could have been done maybe a little bit more. Although you see
Hmm.
some of it, but I think that could have been highlighted more. But I was fine with the journalist part because that's a different movie.
I
I
know,
think
right?
that could
Is that a
be
better movie? That's what I was asking myself at the end of
maybe,
this.
but then you wouldn't have the Hugh performance and you
I
wouldn't
know,
have,
right?
this thing. And I sort of like the reveals of like he's closeted first at first you feel, but then you
Hmm.
find he, spoiler alert, has like a whole double life where he has a longtime partner. And I love that whole reveal and layer. Like this thing is not just about stealing money or what
Right,
have you,
right,
or this is much deeper and there's something a lot sicker and sociopathic going on over here. And but then also to see the impact he has on other people, right? I already mentioned the school and the parents and such and the colleagues, but also both of these guys that he's in sort of in a relationship with, they are kind of enamored by him. And that's
right.
another thing of sociopaths, right? That they can be very alluring and attractive. So I love like all of that exploration, which I think we wouldn't have gotten if it were a journalistic movie.
Right. Yeah. It is a two. It's like there are two different movies. I'm just wondering
Yeah,
maybe the balance necessarily wasn't right. Because yes, we've seen this kind of thing before, but the fact that it was a high school student, I thought was just
it's pretty amazing.
really cool that like she did this and did
Yeah,
the real journalism and all that kind of thing. So overall, I did think the movie was definitely. I highly recommend people check this
yeah,
out. It's like a kind of forgotten movie because it didn't get a theatrical release. People don't really know a lot about it, but I
yeah.
do think it was super interesting. Though I will say again, talking about the something at the end of the movie, like I just did the last couple of these reviews, I didn't like they do in movies. It's like, okay, this is what really happened and this is what the characters are today, and they have like sort of the text on the screen to update you on what happened. And the final thing that they put on there is, oh yeah, and this guy, because of some fluke, is still getting a pension of like $150,000. And I was like, okay, movie, like, what are you trying to make me think that pensions are bad now? Like, it was, I didn't like that. Like, politics, yes, this movie, there's politics and everything, right? But like that, I didn't feel was an unnecessary dig at like an audience to try to think, huh, oh, this guy shouldn't get pensions. Maybe pensions are bad. Maybe we should get rid of pensions. Like I just it rubbed me the wrong way. They should have removed that. It wasn't necessary. Like,
Oh,
what was the point of saying that other than to make me think, oh yeah, we should take pensions away, maybe? Like, why do we have these in the first place? Why are we funding them? And I think pensions are definitely a good thing that have been attacked unfairly over the years. And this movie, just that framing rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like that. That should have been taken out, in my
I
opinion.
didn't read it that way. To me, it was more of like the system is what it is, and it sort of carries on. And I didn't think of it as a dig at pension, but more like someone like this person should not be getting a pension or
Why?
not be.
He did the work. The pension is he was administrator who deserve like he paid you pay into
Yeah,
pensions,
I
there are
guess that's
funds.
true.
It's like saying, oh, this a murder doesn't deserve social security checks. It's like, I mean, actually maybe legally they don't get them. I'm not sure, but I think if they paid into the system, no matter what, it doesn't disqualify you from getting a pension. I don't know.
Mm,
I just starting to like subtly seed those thoughts in people's minds, I think is can be dangerous to
mm.
society. But I did like the movie. Just like I wish the filmmakers had taken that last part out. But thanks for putting it on the list. Again, I was happy to come across it. Hi there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I review a new release and then discuss 6 other movies made by that film's actor or director and how they shaped us. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.